What if I told you that most of who you think you are was never your choice? What if I told you that almost everything you think natural about yourself, your manners, your values, even the way you dream about the future, isn't entirely yours? Think about it. Why do men often feel awkward crying in public? Why do women feel the need to apologize before speaking up in meetings? Why do children in India touch elders' feet while in the US they hug or shake hands? These aren't coincidences. They are the results of something so invisible and yet so powerful that it shapes every fiber of our being. That something is called socialization. Welcome to the Personal Lens, where we explore the political through the personal. I'm your host, and today we are diving into something invisible and yet everywhere. Today, on the Personal Lens, we'll peel back the layers of this hidden process. We'll see how families, schools, religions, media, caste, class, and gender silently script our lives. And we'll ask, is it possible to unlearn what we've been taught? It shapes your body language, your dreams, your shame, your confidence. It decides what you wear, how you speak, who do you love, what you fear, and often who you become. This episode is about socialization. Not the kind that happens at parties, but the quiet, daily programming that begins the moment you're born. Socialization is how we are taught to be normal. But what's considered normal is never neutral. It's gendered, it's caste bound, it's classed, racialized, moralized, and almost always controlled. So, what is socialization and why should you care? Socialization is the process by which we internalize the norms, values, beliefs, and roles of the society we are born into. It begins even before we can talk in the way adults speak to you, dress you, label your toys, praise your behavior. But here's the thing, it's not just about learning, it's about disciplining. Socialization is the system's way of saying, become what we need you to be or suffer the consequences. It is the lifelong process of learning norms, values, behaviors, and roles that society expects of us. Sociologist George Herbert Mead explains this through the I and me. The I is the spontaneous self. The me is the socialized self. A toddler throwing food on the floor, that's the I. The same toddler later saying thank you when served food, that's the me. From our first cries to our last rites, society scripts us. Now, the agents of socialization. Let's look at the agents of socialization, the invisible teachers that shape us. Family. The first and most powerful teacher. In Indian homes, girls are often told, eat after your father comes home. In rural Bihar and Assam, research shows that women are often the last to eat, sometimes surviving on leftovers. This isn't biology, it's training. In the film Lapata Ladies, the women's identities are reduced to who their husbands are. They're literally interchangeable at a train station because society has socialized women into invisibility. Peers. Ever noticed how in school children who don't speak Hindi or English well are mocked, while others adapt accents to fit in? Peer groups pressure us to dress, talk, and act in ways that feel cool. School. Schools are supposed to be spaces of learning, but often they are sites of deep social conditioning. Schools don't just teach maths or history, they teach hierarchy and discipline. In many schools, boys are still encouraged towards science and girls towards humanities. The 2019 NCERT report found that textbooks portrayed men as pilots, doctors, and leaders, while women were mostly shown as mothers, teachers, or nurses. That's gendered socialization happening through the curriculum. Media. Think about Bollywood. In Kabir Singh, a toxic masculinity is glorified. Films, ads, and Instagram reels don't just entertain, they teach us what to desire, who to admire, and who to belittle. Religion and rituals. Why are menstruating women in many Indian households told not to enter kitchens or temples? Why are Dalit children still made to sit separately during midday meals in some villages? These aren't laws of nature. They are learned rules passed down through rituals and belief. Think of it like a theater. Society is the director, the script is written before we arrive, and we, the actors, perform roles often not of our choosing. Gender begins in the cradle. And here's the uncomfortable truth: socialization isn't neutral. It doesn't just teach table manners, it also teaches inequality. A baby is born, someone checks between the legs. It's a girl or it's a boy. Just two options, and then the world begins its work. Girls get soft voices, pink clothes, dolls, glitter, warnings about modesty, compliments on prettiness, patience, obedience. Boys get blue shirts, toy guns, toughness, permission to shout and fight, rewards for aggression, assertiveness, leadership. By the age of 5, a girl may already know to say sorry before speaking. A boy may already have learned that crying is weakness. From childhood, girls are told to sit properly, to smile, to be quiet, modest, and nurturing. Boys are told to be strong, ambitious, fearless. This is how patriarchy is reproduced across generations. Even textbooks, like we mentioned, show men as scientists and women as homemakers. Cartoons portray heroes as male and sidekicks as female. These images sink in before children even realize it. From toy stores to boardrooms, gendered socialization is everywhere. This gendered socialization is not just innocent cultural tradition, it's grooming children into hierarchy. Now add caste, add class. A child from a dominant caste is told they are smart, clean, civilized. A child from a Dalit or tribal community is often denied dignity from the start. In textbooks, language, rituals, school segregation, media representation. In India, caste is perhaps the most insidious form of socialization. Who cooks, who eats first, who is considered pure. These lessons are taught in childhood kitchens and schoolyards long before they are articulated in words. When upper caste children grow up believing that manual labor is low, that certain surnames signal danger, that marriage across caste is taboo, that's not biology, that's learned power. Class 2 plays its role. A child from an affluent family may grow up thinking traveling abroad is a natural goal. A working class child may learn early that survival matters more than dreams. Regional identity. Even the way we learn our regional songs, festivals, and languages is a form of socialization. It creates belonging, but also difference, sometimes even exclusion. So you see, socialization is not just a private process. It is political. It decides who has power, who doesn't, and whose lives are valued. It's this socialization that teaches the maid's child to sit on the floor, the English speaking child to speak over others, the child from a marginalized family that they must be grateful to be included but never fully equal. Then there's moral socialization. Good girls, don't go out late. Respect your elders no matter what. A real man never backs down. We teach children to prioritize conformity over courage. And if you break the script, you're shamed, punished, isolated. This is how patriarchy, casteism, ableism, queerphobia all get passed down without needing a law or a whip. This isn't just upbringing, it's indoctrination. The personal cost of fitting in. So let's get real. How many of us have pretended to be someone we are not, just to be accepted? A queer teen hiding their truth, a boy suppressing tears, a girl told her ambitions are too much, a neurodivergent child called difficult, a woman taught to laugh at sexist jokes to avoid being labeled too sensitive. This is what socialization does. It forces us to trade authenticity for safety. But the cost is deep. It's the quiet grief of self betrayal. It's the anxiety of being watched. It's the burnout of always performing. It's the rage we turn inward when we have been taught not to question the script. Resistance and resocialization. But here's the part I love most. We are not just passive sponges. We resist, we rebel, we unlearn. Desocialization is the process of unlearning, of peeling back the layers to ask, is this really me? Or is this what I was told I must be? Sociologist Antonio Gramsci called this counter hegemony when the oppressed resist the dominant narrative. Think about a man learns to cry and finds liberation in vulnerability. A woman who chooses not to marry despite family pressure. A Dalit student who questions casteist rituals in school. A queer person who redefines what love and gender mean. A child refuses to let a gendered toy define their worth. A boy who decides he wants to learn classical dance despite being told it's for girls. These acts of defiance are also forms of resocialization. They create cracks in the system. They remind us that while socialization is powerful, it is not absolute. Every act of questioning, every refusal to conform plants the seed of change. And popular culture is catching up too. Thappar dared to say it was just one slap, but no, it's not okay. That line hit millions of women who had been socialized to stay silent in abusive marriages. And then there's Mrs. starring Sania Malhotra, a remake of The Great Indian Kitchen. The story follows a woman who marries into a traditional household and is immediately burdened with endless cooking and cleaning, work that is invisible, exhausting, and expected. At first, she complies because that's what women are socialized to do, serve quietly. But gradually, she begins to resist, to say no. And that refusal, that small act of defiance, feels revolutionary in a culture where women are conditioned to sacrifice. Now, reclaiming ourselves is messy, painful, slow, but it is also powerful. So, why does understanding socialization matter? Because when you see the invisible threads, you can start pulling them apart. You start noticing how many of your choices are really your own, how many are society's whispers inside your head. It allows us to ask, do I really want this? Or do I want it because I was taught to want it? And when enough of us begin to ask these questions, society itself begins to change. Socialization is the silent architect of our identities. It tells us how to eat, love, laugh, dream, and grieve. It teaches us belonging, but also enforces inequality. Yet, awareness is power. To see the process is the first step in rewriting it. Awareness doesn't just free the individual, it creates ripples. One woman refusing dowry, one man sharing housework, one child speaking their mother tongue proudly in an English medium school. These are cracks in the wall of conformity. You weren't born ashamed. You weren't born insecure. You weren't born guilty of or afraid of taking up space. You were taught to be those things, and that means you can be untaught. Socialization is not destiny, it's a map someone else drew for you. Socialization is powerful. It decides who eats first and who eats last, who is allowed to dream and who is forced to serve, who gets remembered and who remains invisible. But remember, what is learned can also be unlearned, and maps can be redrawn. The personal is always political, and to unlearn is also to be free. Thank you so much for listening to The Personal Lens. If this episode made you pause, reflect, or question, share it and start conversations that matter. Remember, unlearning is also a form of freedom. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Do leave your thoughts and comments at the email provided in the description. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay engaged. Most importantly, keep looking through the personal lens.